Well, hello, loves. Hello, loves. Today we're going to do some tarot card reading. We'll try and get psychically connected to some of what's going on in the world. As many of you know, America is engaged in military actions against Iran. The Iranian government is falling. The supreme leader, Khamenei, died. His son, evidently, is seriously wounded, possibly in a coma. We don't know. They presented a cardboard cutout rather than the actual person at the swearing in ceremony. So, whether or not there is any leadership amongst the mullahs is questionable. It would appear that they may have been also using bunker bombs, the Americans. And so, if IRGC members are hiding deep underground, those types of weapons can take them out, similar to the weapons that were used against Hamas when Hamas was 60 feet underground in Gaza. They will go deep in and then they will explode deep underground. Hezbollah, when they took out Hezbollah fighters also in Lebanon, they used similar weapons. Feels to me the first thing I feel when I go into this energy, I know that Hezbollah has been firing rockets from Lebanon and parts of Syria. I believe, of course, Syria has fallen. The Assad regime has collapsed, and we have ISIS fighters attacking Alawad and other minority groups, including the Druze in Syria, many of them seeking asylum on the Israeli side, requesting a oasis or safe zone between in the border between Syria and Israel to help with the Druze, Alawad, other minority groups that are being slaughtered after ISIS took control of certain areas in Syria. So it's a big mess. However, one of the things I feel when I meditate on Lebanon is a sense of relief that finally these military actions will take out Hezbollah and free their country from the stresses of occupation by Hezbollah. Hezbollah had been aggressively pursuing control over parts of Lebanon, control over their parliament, etc. And so, amongst secularists and moderates in Lebanon, Beirut, there's a sense of relief that these lunatics will finally be taken out of Lebanon. Of course, rightly so, there are concerns right here in the United States as well. Gas prices are up. People are confused about what's going on in the Middle East. They don't understand the connection between how life in the Middle East could possibly be affecting people here in the United States. No understanding of how international trade can impact life here at home. That if things are unstable in the Middle East, that will affect gas prices. That if you have pollution upriver, your downriver stream becomes polluted. That's kind of how pollution works, and that all of us are interconnected. And particularly, this is true when we're talking about fighting and for trade routes. So, when the Straits of Hormuz are blocked, then that is a trade route that is being blocked. And so Iran has placed mines there. And again, it goes back to this understanding that we had talking about, that all wars have some aspect to them where people are fighting for control of trade. And so, not surprisingly, we see blocking of trade. Similarly, we see the same thing with Cuba, where blockades are happening and the regular people of Cuba can't get adequate food because of those blockades. These types of blockades, etc., this type of pressure on people's trade routes also led to extreme poverty in Haiti, for example. Let's do the empath prayer. We have a second camera set up, and I will try to get to everybody's questions. I am glad you're here. Okay. I want to call on white light protection for myself and this community as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. Call on our spirit guides and our good angels to be with us. It's the clarity and the wisdom that is needed to empower all of us on our journeys to make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, the planet, the people we love, but also to help those that we may have strife with. And together, collectively, as a community, we say amen. All right, let's do it. I feel like the first thing I want to do is to try and get into Donald Trump's head. I know that's kind of an oxymoron, but no, I just want to hone in on him first. So this first reading is going to be Donald Trump, and hopefully by getting into his energy, I find he's pretty easy to remote view. If we can get into his head, we can then start to see other people who have energetic cords attached to him, and then one by one, we can go in and try and connect to other people connected to him. That's kind of how I work. I will choose the main energetic stream, and then I will try and look at who's connected to that stream. So let's do Trump first. And we'll look at what his energy is like over the next couple weeks, couple months. His health has not been good. I think that's pretty obvious. He's got strange things going on with his physical health. And there appears to be some kind of civil war happening in his cabinet. Main feeling I get here is that there is a conflict between the president and the Constitution. One of the things that I've talked about here in this on this channel has to do with how I view in a government reading. I always look at the Hierophant. I use the Hierophant to describe the Constitution because the law of the land, greater than any branch of the government, is this living document, which is called the Constitution. So the the president has to adhere, Congress has to adhere, the judicial branch has to adhere to this thing called the Constitution. So you have the base of the matter being the Constitution. The fact that this war may not have been constitutionally sound, which is similar to what we saw when Obama struck Libya and entered Pakistani airspace to take out Osama bin Laden. It created an international crisis, and people were concerned we were going to be bogged down in Libya, or that we were going to be at war with a nuclear power because we had entered Pakistani airspace. So it was a very dicey situation. At what point does a U.S. president have the right to declare a military action in another country if it's not approved by Congress? So there could be a conflict here, and that could be because the government could shut down approving funds for this war if the Democrats get in November. They will heavily curb how much money is spent for this military operation. So if the Republicans want to finish off the job, finish off the IRGC, take control over Iran, take control over their government, they have to do it by January when Congress changes, which it most likely will. So you have this conflict happening between both the president, karma card being the president, and the Constitution. The fact that the karma card falls on the presidency would lead me to suspect that in this particular case, the president appears to be winning, or he appears to have control over the desire to control him via the Constitution, right? So he has the power. Where he's at right now, the courts could be coming in on Donald Trump. You know, it's interesting. You have this Queen of Swords moving in, and she carries the sword of truth or the sword of justice. And again, that could be an indication that we're looking at some kind of legal fights that are happening between the president and the sword of justice. We know that this year there would be a lot of fighting and war. Of course, in the Chinese calendar, we have the fire horse coming in. We also have the energy of the goddess Oshun, who is typified in the cards as the Queen of Wands. This is a card that, or an energy that comes in when there is great injustice against women. So, one of the things we warned people is that we had two things happening at the same time. We talked about this a lot prior to, I believe it was February 17th, when we entered the time of the fire horse, that we are also entering the strong energies of Oshun, that horse is being ridden by the goddess of Oshun, the goddess who brings justice to the world. Now, in the Tibetan tradition, this would be Mahakali. Mahakali being a feminine, a warrior who led the Mongolian fights as the Mongolians invaded Tibet and took over Tibet with Mahakali, right, coming in. Of course, Mahakali also brings her version of justice, right? So Kali tears things apart, right? But the fact that the Queen of Swords comes to us would be an indication of some kind of law or truth, possibly a feminine aspect, and the Ace of Cups being the crossing card. So there appears to be at this time a kind of stay or prevention of stopping. Trump appears to be winning in this war, right? In the sense that despite whatever's going on in Congress, despite whatever's going on in the Senate, despite whatever's going on in the courts, he appears to be unstoppable via executive orders in that respect when it comes to these wars. What is above him? Confusion. This is something that I've seen before, which is that the amount of hours that President Trump can work has become greatly diminished. If he's going to work after 3, 4 p.m., he probably needs to have a nap of some type, because the fourth house is also associated with your higher self. It's associated with your brain, right? It's what is above you. The Seven of Cups is a card that denotes confusion, right? It's a person who's spaced out, doesn't really know what's happening, is confused. It's typified by an opium cloud. It was created, her artwork, during the time of the Edwardians, right? And where heroin started to really take off on the streets of New York. You know, everybody was in an opium cloud. Now they're in a weed cloud, but that is the smoking of the opium pipe, you know, that puts you in that delusion where you don't know reality from fiction. So it's the drugged out, confused out, spaced out person. What he sits in is that his wish has been granted. So there's also a feeling from Trump that in a sense he has already won, because he's able to get what he wants without much disruption by Congress. You know, he seems to be able to do whatever he likes, and he's not, according to these cards, getting enough obstruction that he's being blocked. Things are happening behind the scenes with Donald Trump where people close to him are beginning to talk. I feel like whatever's going on with him, if it's early signs of Alzheimer's or moderate to mild coronary artery disease, appears to definitely be one of the things going on with his health. And there's some evidence that he's had at least 2 cardiac events. This Ten of Swords in the background would suggest that people close to Trump are beginning to betray him, and that, in fact, he's already been betrayed. It could also be because of the Epstein files that people are beginning to talk. But Ten of Swords is when you get stabbed in the back. The fact that it's in a past placement tells me he's already been betrayed by certain people in his administration. And there he is entering into a new commitment or a new contract. I think the big issue here is a justification by Congress to continue this military action based on these cards. Just because you have this coming in, you've got a challenge here with the Constitution. The president's will is pushing through as the karma. There's this love offering from the courts. So, in some ways, the Supreme Court may be giving him what he needs. However, this Three of Pentacles would indicate a new foundation or a new blueprint coming in. He gets his wish. He's very confused. The businessman. Somebody has said that this war was over oil. This war is over so much more than oil. This war is over a trade route that involves the pan-Arab states in Israel, as well as Europe's peace plan that was signed. And Iran, Pakistan, and Afghanistan are obstructing that, as is Putin and Russia. That is kind of the axis of evil, right? In that part of the world is Iran and Putin. In the middle of all that is Erdogan out of Turkey, which has kind of played both sides of the fence. But now Iran is bombing Turkey. They have a strange relationship because of their former history with the Ottoman Empire. But I think this is all business, that Queen of Pentacles is like it's all business. The House of Opposition, the truth is coming out. So there appears to be some efforts being made to expose things regarding Trump. I feel because of this Seven of Cups in the fourth house that there will be people close to President Trump that will begin exposing things that they see regarding his mental health challenges. His house of opposition is the sun, and the sun is exposure. The dark aspects of the sun are that it can burn, right? The hopes and fears, money. So the economy, the fact that people don't know how long this military action is going to last. Anytime you have these kind of military actions, you're going to have a bump in the road in terms of the economy. The final outcome is grief. He will lose certain things. He will gain, but he will lose some things as well. It's interesting that a lot of readers have gotten the Five of Cups historically over Donald Trump. He is somebody that often sees the glass as half empty rather than half full. He is not open to taking any responsibility. There is some kind of growing consensus, both with Republicans and Democrats, coming together to expose this president. You have a Two of Wands, which would indicate a partnership over the issue of exposure. The hope and fear at this time, again, is an investigation. The Hermit would be an investigation coming in that may be not good for this president. Oh dear, I don't like that at all. And then the final outcome for the president, again, stubbornness. He refuses to cooperate. So not a happy guy. So let's go in and let's look at specifics here. Happy Saturday night to all of you. Okay, let's see how this war is going to end. Are we in a quagmire? Or do we now know how to do it? Can we build oasis zones and get people to safety, in which case we will collapse the enemy by simply opening the door and letting anybody that doesn't want to live, if you don't want to live in the Taliban, here's the door. What would happen to those aggressive, hostile governments? They would collapse because they wouldn't be able to maintain themselves financially. You don't have to go to war. You simply have to give people safe haven. It's cheaper. If the Abraham Accords, the people that signed the peace plan with Trump can adhere to that, then you don't need further military action. You simply need to offer some people better, and then those governments that do not treat their citizens' rights will collapse. The problem when you have if you look at former governments that were closed systems like North Korea or the former USSR, is that people couldn't leave. Creating a safe passage has to be a part of that, right? So let's take a look at how the Iran war is going to end. How long is it going to go on for, and how's it going to end? The Iran war. Yeah, those cards with the Trump would indicate some kind of growing animosity towards the president that could be leading to cooperation between both Democrats and Republicans to remove him. We could be stuck. There's this concern again, the Constitution or the higher ethos. The other thing is that this is a cult. The former government, which is collapsing in Iran, was a cult. The Hierophant can be dogma in its dark aspects, particularly if it's typified or next to something like the devil, which can be chained like an addiction. So this cult is seen as a kind of addiction, or not so much of God as it is, excuse me, using God to hold up the devil, right? Oppressing the rights of people. And again, chained. So the imagery they're using for Iran is imprisonment, a cult, and the people are being held hostage. You don't cover your hair, you go to prison and you get raped, right? So this oppressive regime comes to an end. The next 30 days will be significant. If you read Ace of Wands, like I do, it's a 1 month period. So Eight of Swords would be the captives, those who are chained or those who are tied up, a 30-day period. What is above is the High Priestess. That is the state of Israel. A High Priestess is the card that I use for the state of Israel. You can see she holds the Torah, and her colors are white and blue. And so that is why I use her to describe Israel. We have the military action of the Knight of Wands, also known as the Fire Horse. We're coming out of the Ten of Wands and we're entering into a time of confusion. There is a little bit of a confusion. Where do we go from here? They definitely wanted to take out military capacity and also their capacity to arm Hezbollah, Hamas, and other extremist groups. There is a great celebration amongst the people, particularly women's power. You can see that Three of Cups coming in. The people of Iran celebrating the freedom of women. Women are very happy about this of Iran. Archangel Michael stands as the Page of Swords, the sword of truth. Hopes and fears is war, and there it is. They will free up the money of the Iranian government. So the future is that the war will end. We'll see a pulling back of the war. Probably Prince Pahlavi will come in. He will establish, most likely, a constitutional monarchy similar to Great Britain. And Ace of Pentacles would indicate that the money will be released. In plainer words, if the 40 billion they controlled, the US government, how this money could be used, that was released, it would appear that a lot of money is going to be released onto Iran for its rebuild with the Ace of Pentacles. And so it will be economically beneficial to Iran in the long run. 30 days. We have a victory card here for the women. The women stand in victory. We also see strong leadership emerging out of Iran. Pahlavi's daughter will be the future queen when he steps down, and that will mean that Iran will have a very strong female leadership in the future. The opposition, truth, and the family comes in. So there will be some conflict amongst the people that are building the new government about how that government is going to exist once Tehran is taken. But overall, the good news is that the future economy of Iran looks quite auspicious with an Ace of Pentacles and a Seven of Pentacles coming in, and that's probably due to the death of sanctions, I would assume. So we're looking at 1 month. The IRGC will most likely collapse. Within 6 months, we're seeing the United States government coming in, as well as other military, to help establish a new constitutional monarchy. There's some debates about how much control the monarchy will have other than figurehead. That will be interesting to see that. The family being the conflict or issue, I'm assuming that's the Pavli family. But good news, the US government can then free up and make accessible the money of the Iranian people, because there's no longer a fear that the IRGC will use that money uh, uh, to persecute the people. So that's very good. That's very good for Iran. 1 month. We will stop the strikes in about 30 days. Same with Libya. But I think we're going to see more of an international investment than we did with Libya. And with Libya, we just abandoned Libya, and that wasn't good at all for Libya. Okay, I'm liking that. I'm liking that. Now, let's go back to what's happening here at home. Many people are concerned with what's going on with the Epstein files. People are concerned also with whether or not there's going to be a collapse, civil war inside the cabinet of President Trump. So let's take a look at his cabinet. We know Kristi Noem is in trouble. We also know that Pam Bondi is most likely in trouble. Let's go ahead and look at Pam Bondi first. Just 4 cards. Pam Bondi. She's leaving. Chariot coming in over the 7th house, a desire to step down from her job, hopes and fears, the crash. Economic crash is the biggest concern for them, and the final outcome is she will likely be okay, and she will probably be assisted when there are congressional hearings, but I do not see her staying. Pam Bondi is not staying just because the Chariot is there. There will be a turnaround of the AG. There will be promises by his administration to protect Pam Bondi from any kind of legal action. So there is an investigation, but there's also a promise here by the GOP that if she cooperates during hearings or an investigation, that she will be protected. You can see here with the 2 of Cups and the Ace of Cups, there's protection. That Chariot would indicate her moving on over the issue of the president. The hope and fear here she is that it's all come crashing down. And you can see here, she escapes. Like probably this feels to me like she gets out of there before the shit hits the fan. I'm telling you, that's kind of what this looks like to me, because you've got that Justice moving in as the final outcome, and she just slips out of there with that 6 of Swords. So this is like the girl is trying to get out of there as fast as possible. People had asked me if I could do a deep dive on ICE. People, rightly so, were very concerned with the actions of ICE, seeing young children dying from lack of water in ICE detention camps. It sounds like something that you would hear about in, Germany in the 1940s, right? So we're very concerned about that. Let's take a look at the future of ICE. Kristi Noem is gone. What is the future of ICE? Four of Swords. House of Opposition, 10 of Pentacles. Hopes and fears, the 9 of Pentacles. And then the final outcome is 2 of Swords. It's a mess. It's a mess. I definitely could see a desire to change things up, but also to cover up crimes against humanity. I would really hope that the international community get involved, because you have this kind of buried information. Remember, the dark aspects of inheritance is You inherit Tay-Sachs disease, dirty little family secrets, alcoholism, pedophilia, like whatever the dark, dirty family secret that the people are spying and gossiping about. So it stands in the House of Opposition, which would indicate a dirty little secret, also trying to bury it, a whole hunk of information, two of swords, lips are sealed. The focus of ICE at this point is to try and bury or cover up crimes that took place in detention. Gagging, the two of swords. So, yes, Kristi Noem is fired. Yes, she's become the scapegoat. Women are always scapegoats, right? And when will women learn that these men are not your friends, right? They're not your friends. So, I definitely see a cover up. And the good news is I see the Congress changing. Democrats are going to take the House and probably the Senate as well. Two of Wands is a great outcome. It would indicate that there is a cooperation starting to happen within ICE and Congress in the coming months. Two of Wands is excellent. That's importing and exporting. We're exporting people. It's interesting that Spirit chose to use the Two of Wands, who comes in and who goes out. The strong partnership. That's very good news for us. It indicates that some kind of humanity is going to be coming in the next couple of months, and that we're shifting towards humane policies. What I don't like about this is the fact that we're looking at a potential cover-up. Yeah. So it's a lot of work for the Democrats to investigate this and to make sure that the people in power are held 100% accountable for what they did. Okay, so we're just going to do a quick throw on the future of the economy. People had asked if I could check to see if the jobs report is only 0.7 increase in jobs. That is really, really bad. The economy increased by 0.7. We want to see 3%. Let's look at the economy. Let's just do 4 cards on the economy. Three of Pentacles would indicate a new opportunity, contract, or the building of a blueprint to improve the economy. In the House of Opposition, getting rid of things that are not conducive to helping the economy. This has me concerned because it's more slashing by billionaires of things like healthcare, childcare, etc. So again, more proof that Democrats need to come in and take Congress because of this Three of Pentacles moving in. That's like new bills, a new blueprint. What has to be let go of? The hope and fear at this time is Donald Trump, and the final outcome is a Knight of Cups, which is an offer. Excuse me. What I would say to this is that Democrats will be reaching across the aisle with moderate Republicans in order to control Trump. We also see housing, investing in housing. Three of Pentacles could be an investment in housing and affordable housing in the coming months. That's very, very good. I keep getting that Two of Swords over Donald Trump, which would indicate that he's as stubborn as ever. I like the fact that I'm seeing the freeing up of funds for the creation of affordable housing in the coming years. Yeah, with this coming in over the issue of blueprints, housing, etc. I think that poor people who are Republicans understand the importance that everybody deserves a home, right? If we're talking about contracts with companies like Boxables, so that everybody gets to have a comfortable place to live that is not particularly expensive. If somebody is willing to buy a large swath of land and put up water, etc., they could theoretically create communities of Boxables that work to help and support people who are vulnerable. And that is, I think it'd be a great idea. You buy 10 acres, buy 100 boxables, start growing some trees, start interviewing people, and people pay very little a month, 200-300 bucks a month to live in a beautiful little apartment on private lands. That's what this looks like to me with this energy moving in. That money coming in, investment in housing. I think it's something that Democrats and Republicans can reach across the aisle to produce. And so in the coming years, I think we're going to start seeing the birth of a lot more affordable housing in the United States. And I think that that's really, really great. One quick question before we close. I had multiple people ask me if I would take a look at Donald Trump's health. When is he leaving? Well, he definitely is having health challenges. We know that. Let's take a look at just a couple of cards about Trump's health before we close today. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It means a lot to me. I really appreciate all your support. Donald Trump's health. High Priestess. Four of Cups. There's an expose that's going to happen. There's something about information regarding his health that's being, because High Priestess has to do with hidden knowledge. So something is being hidden from us. When you think about the High Priestess, it has an aspect to it of the feminine and also the hidden knowledge. Her hat is a moon. Isn't that cool? It's a moon. So it has to do with the knowledge that is hidden. There appears to be some knowledge that is hidden regarding Trump's health. We don't have the whole picture. Our opposition is that we are intentionally being gaslit. That is our house of opposition. Four of Cups is a refusal to take medicine also. It's a stubborn patient who will not take the medicine he needs to take. But it's also a refusal to cooperate. The hope and fears, the impoverished man or the broken man who is locked out of the church and is dragging you down, and you're desperately trying to get away. Ever been involved with someone that's a mooch, and the more time you spend with them, the broker you become, the more miserable you become, and the next thing you know, you're not in a relationship with an equal, you're in a relationship with a parasite. That is kind of how I think of the Five of Pentacles. It's the parasitic relationship where she has no socks. She's not doing well. And instead of taking care of himself, he's, hey, can I borrow a quarter? Hey, can you give me a car ride? Hey, you got any food? I'm hungry. Make me something to eat. And she is literally being driven into the ground by this person who is dragging behind her. And she's the brains in this disastrous relationship, trying to figure out how to get into a locked church so they both don't freeze to death. That is the best way to describe the Five of Pentacles. I would say with this kind of juxtaposition that this is someone who's becoming increasingly ill. There is some kind of a cover-up. There is a refusal either for him to cooperate with what his doctors are recommending or refusing to acknowledge that we have a problem. He is starting to lose support, both from MAGA, who didn't want foreign wars, but also from Democrats that are suspect something is really medically wrong here. Again, also, Ten of Pentacles would indicate a genetic or a family history. Because as we had said before, when we talk about the Ten of Pentacles, our inheritance doesn't mean you're going to get $1 million. People always want to see the Ten of Pentacles as this positive card. No, it's what you inherited. For example, if you had an abusive parent and now you have to deal with the horrors of inheriting this family of origin, or a parent has Alzheimer's disease and now you have to deal with the horrors of the fact that you may be vulnerable to that disease. So there is something hidden regarding his health. He does not want to cooperate. He is perhaps a difficult patient. He may be in denial, and he's losing support because he is harming the very people that he needs, his constituents. And there is a secret that appears to have a genetic component. I think the guy has Alzheimer's. I mean, that's just my own personal opinion, but these cards are not good. Regarding the issue of the secret, do they release or leak sensitive information regarding the president's health? That is ultimately the decision that people in positions of power around him are thinking. Should they release this? And his House of Opposition take the car keys away. Grandpa's car keys could be taken away. Five of Swords. A growing sense that this president is in over his head. He doesn't know what he's doing. He could get us all killed, and the time has come to take the sword away. The pen is mightier than the sword, right? No more writing executive orders. No more doing whatever the hell you want. You are insane, and we are taking away the car keys, right? So the hope and the fear at this time, his health. Archangel Raphael is the Page of Cups and comes with messages of concerns of health regarding issues of his inheritance, masters over him. He's on a prescription, at least one prescription. Because whatever the issue is that he has inherited, there are experts or masters that are attempting to assist in this issue, and that tells me that he's under medical care for it. I would also predict that people close to the president are engaged in activities to potentially expose him and expose this health crisis. It's very sad, it's very sad to see somebody disintegrate like this. I would think, right? I want to do one more. I want to take a look at Sasha Barrows. He is one of the people who was trafficked. There were boys that were trafficked as well by Epstein, particularly in the when Epstein first got involved in human trafficking, buying children, it would appear, from a pedophile ring out of Oklahoma. There were evidently a couple of children that were bought from that pedophile ring when they first started to get involved in this kind of behavior. Also some evidence of stuff happening out of Michigan, right? This was in the 80s, prior to, putting the big money into kidnapping fashion models and sending them off to foreign countries, and islands to be bought and sold as sex slaves, et cetera, right? So all of that is starting to come out right now. But let's take a look at Sasha Barrows. Is he going to be okay? I know they're trying to gag him, and I know that he's been very brave, Sasha. He's writing a book. Sasha is writing a book, and he has been warned probably legally about this. Queen of Cups is very emotional. She's also very creative. He still has PTSD, and his House of Opposition is nightmares. He's still having nightmares. He often feels very alone and traumatized by the images, some of which have been blocked out forever, thank God, because he was given large amounts of drugs as a child. So he often was not even conscious of what was being done to him. But some of the memories, he said, are coming back in flirts and like memories of Clarence Thomas being there at one of the events, right? So seeing Lindsey Graham at one of the events, where was it, Nantucket parties? Remember, we had done a remote view, and in the remote view, Lindsey Graham had said, well, I was at a party in Nantucket, and I don't want people to know what I did. Remember, I did a remote a couple of years back. Then Barrows says he was flown in to an exclusive, et cetera, and Lindsey Graham was there, right? So these memories, his House of Opposition, the thing that disturbs Sasha Barrows the most is the memories, the snatches of memories, and the horror. My family, my father did this to me. The horror of knowing that you are unloved and hated to that extent. The hope and fear, a desire to take the demons away, to win and to fight the demons, and the final outcome for Barrows. Things will begin to change very rapidly for him. This exposure will start to hit the general public. People will begin talking about him a lot between now and summer of 2026. That's the summer card. He's back and he's been given advice about the book and threats about the book, that he will be sued. How can he publish it, etc. He will gain his power back. This summer will be good for Sasha Barrows. He gets his power back by the summer. Here it is again, this hidden investigation. You can see the high priestess over an issue of taking the weapons of war again. He will overcome his demons. I wonder if he's done EMDR. I know he's done a lot to heal himself, but I think he also needs a lot of positive touch, like massage, etc. I would think that's safe. God, I hope, good luck writing that book. This Two of Pentacles, he's like, he really wants to, but, he's going to have to self-publish. And then this is what happened when they exposed the fact that Arnold Schwarzenegger's father was a Nazi stormtrooper, right? They buried the book. So there could be some kind of economic concerns about his book, right? Boys are hard to find. That's what they're recommending as the title. And but he's going to be okay. He's going to be okay. And by this summer, he's going to be in a position of power. Yeah. All right. Wow. Very interesting cards. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening to today's reading. If you're trying to get in for a reading with me, you can find all the information below this video. Be kind to all so that all will be kind to you too. God bless. Peace out. We'll see you next time, everyone. Bye.